Right. Hello, I'm Dr. Asavari Manvikar. I would like to welcome you all to the CAR Global Webinar Research Series. Council for Ayurveda Research is an international non-profit organization based out of USA with its sister chapter in India by the name Ayurvidya Anusandhan Abhiyan Foundation, AAAF. Our mission is to encourage, educate, and facilitate basic clinical and interdisciplinary research in Ayurveda. Our vision is to promote, establish Ayurveda as an evidence-based health science globally. You can you can learn more about us at www.ayurvedaresearchusa.org. Please do consider joining us as a member, which will bring you access to all our resources. No non-profit can operate and succeed without volunteers. So we would love to have you as one of the volunteers. Consider joining us, uh, and we will look at your skills and interest and place you accordingly. Once again, our website is www.ayurvedaresearchusa.org. Now, I would like to introduce you to our eminent speaker, Dr. Sri Ranjini Jaideep. Dr. Sri Ranjini is a clinical researcher with an illustrious career for about 20 years in Ayurveda clinical practice, in transdisciplinary research and academics. She is MD in Kaya Chikitsa, internal medicine branch of Ayurveda, and PhD from NIMHANS, Bangalore. A Vaidya Scientist Fellow and a certified yoga instructor from University, Swastika University. She was a consultant physician at world-class authentic Ayurveda hospitals in India, including Institute of Ayurveda and Integrative Medicine and the Ramaya Indic Specialty Ayurveda at Bangalore, where she catered to patients of diverse ailments. She has been a co-investigator on several research projects, and she is faculty for workshops on research methodology, medical ethics, biostatistics, and scientific writing. She has published her research articles in peer-reviewed journals and has won several Young Researcher Awards at international conferences. Currently, she is a freelance research consultant at Ramaya Ayurveda, and she also provides Ayurveda consultations from Canada. So I welcome you, Dr. Sri Ranjini. She is going to talk about research advances in Panchakarma therapies.
Thank you, Doctor. Welcome all. So I'll just briefly take you all through what has been currently done in the field of Ayurveda research in terms of Panchakarma therapies and different other modalities. It could even be research with regard to herbs or herbo-mineral formulations. So, what do we have currently that says for sure that Ayurveda helps in these neurological diseases, and where else can we go from here is something that I will be covering in today's talk. We could probably take questions at the end of the talk. So, it's not surprising that a lot of people are turning towards complementary and alternative medicines, be it Ayurveda, be it TCM, be it a lot of other physical therapy and other forms of medications or therapies which are much needed for these conditions, because most of these come with a lot of disability and they are all chronic illnesses, they are long standing, and one system of medicine is currently not able to handle all the complex symptoms and all the complex problems that come up from these diseases. So a lot of stroke patients in India, it is very common for stroke patients to come to Ayurveda treatments in following the subacute phase or the acute phase. Sometimes they do come after months and years of stroke. Sometimes they do come in. There are certain hospitals wherein people do turn up as soon as they suffer a stroke, they come into the hospital. Other than this, low back aches, sciaticas, headaches, mostly migraine, seizures, dementia, epileptic patients, most of these have started to opt for different varieties of these complementary and alternative medicines. And surprisingly, neurodegenerative conditions like multiple sclerosis, Parkinson's disease, also people come and seek Ayurveda treatments. So, like I said, the complexity of the issue, even in Ayurveda, we say that Vata Vyadhi, all these are bracketed as Vata Vyadhi in Ayurveda, and we say that they are asadhya or yapya, that is, they're either incurable or they need to be managed for throughout the life of the patient. So, again, not one system will be able to address this comprehensively such that they are left with less disability, better functionality, and so on. And some of these diseases are refractory, so they have a waxing waning kind of a presentation, and there are periods wherein patients are fine, doing well, able to cope with things, and at times they're not able to do that. So this kind of a refractory nature, persistent nature of these conditions, these are chronic conditions, they stay with you once they come into the system, most of them stay within the system. So additional treatment is much warranted in these different neurological diseases. And yes, current pharmacotherapy comes with a lot of side effects, and sometimes to manage these side effects, patients do come with us. There are certain medications which do cause constipation. Patients come to us seeking treatment for constipation. There are some which cause dryness of the mouth, sleeplessness, anxiety, depression. So there are a whole lot of side effects which advanced cases, a lot of pharmacotherapy have these kind of side effects. So people do seek CAM for all these different side effects as well. And a big question that we are yet to answer, that we are seeking answers to, is do these CAM treatments only give symptomatic relief, or do they have some disease modifying capabilities? Will they halt the progression of the disease, slow down the progression of the disease, reverse the disease? These are things that we are constantly trying to find answers to. Some of them we do have sufficient answers, some are still left to be explored. There's a whole lot out there that we do not know about. And yes, we are definitely wanting to know if Ayurveda can address all these issues. So like I said, neurological diseases are described as Vata Vyadhi and amongst the three doshas. So now most of these chronic diseases, again, all the three doshas are affected. Vata is affected, Pitta is affected, Kapha is affected for sure. Out of this, Vata is exclusively affected in the sense that without the involvement of Vata dosha, these diseases cannot happen. So neurological diseases are almost always associated with Vata dosha. And do we have descriptions of these diseases, or are they new diseases for Ayurveda? Most of these are not new diseases to Ayurveda. Stroke has been mentioned in Ayurveda, sciatica has been mentioned in Ayurveda, Parkinson's disease is mentioned in Ayurveda. There are so many such different disease conditions which have been explained in Ayurveda literature. And if not, we always have the categorization of disease by looking at the symptoms of the disease, drawing back towards the pathogenesis of the disease, and being able to understand what are the pathological factors that are responsible for causing that disease. And yes, by that sense, we will be able to manage most of these conditions. They are certainly not new diseases to Ayurveda. So when it comes to management, what all do we use? So very few herbs are studied. So when it comes to neurological diseases, if you think of Parkinson's or we think of stroke, some herbs just come to our mind. Ashwagandha comes to mind, Brahmi comes to mind, garlic comes to mind. So these are all things that we have commonly heard about. These are some of the herbs that many of us are familiar with. We can pick them off the shelves. We can easily identify these in a lot of modern pharmaceutical preparations as well. So these are some of the very common herbs that we do use for the management of these neurological conditions. Now, along with that, there's a whole lot of therapies which get categorized as the Panchakarma therapies, which constitute a better line of management for these conditions. So it could be just simple snehana and svedana, that is simple abhyanga or massage which is done, or a simple steam therapy that is done, which does improve functionality in these patients. So most of these diseases, patients do have stiffness, they have laxity of the muscles, they have a lot of pain. So a simple massage and a simple steam can help them immensely in managing their condition. Again, LEPA, different kinds of LEPA, especially in pain conditions, wherein you're not able to do a massage because of the severe pain that the patient is in. Then in such cases, yes, it definitely helps just to put a pack, leave it on, and they are able to function better because it reduces the inflammation. It reduces, it kind of has an analgesic effect, and that does help a lot. Then, of course, we have the more rigorous Panchakarma therapies. We have the Vamana, Virechana, Basti, and so on. Now, most of these are very much prescribed in Ayurveda for the management of these conditions. Most commonly used ones are Basti, because these patients do come with a lot of mobility issues. So giving a Virechana, giving a Vamana does become difficult. So practically, from a practical point of view, Basti is easiest for them, for us to administer and for them to receive. So Basti is one of the most commonly used. And Nasya, yes, Ayurveda says that nose is one of the routes for you to enter the brain easily. So medicines given via, or herbs given via the nose, are able to reach the brain much faster than those given orally. So a combination of these can also be given. When I say Virechana, it does not have to be the traditional Virechana that we give, but a simple thing that we give as a Nitya Virechana or a daily laxative that helps to keep the bowels clear does help for these conditions. So Virechana, Basti, Nasya are very importantly used in all these conditions. Then the cranial therapies, or the Mastishkya. This is a group of therapies which includes Shirodhara, wherein we pour oil steadily on the forehead. Then you have Shirobasti, wherein you retain oil over the head. Then you have Shiro Abhyanga, or massage to the head and neck region. And you have the Pichu, or the oil, which is a pooling of an oil which is kept on the head. So these are different cranial therapies, which local therapies, but they do have a lot of effect in helping with these conditions, and can be done in almost all the different neurological diseases. Then, of course, we do have a lot of, depending on where exactly the neurological issue is, you could opt for gargling, you could have Karnapurana is a must again, and Dhumapana if required, or Dhupana if required, that is steam inhalation. So these are the different therapies which are used consistently in almost all neurological illnesses, considering the chronic nature of these diseases. Now, it is not mandatory that all of these be followed. One of these can be followed, and it can be tailored to be able to be easily administered to the clients, as in it does not need that. These are some things that you could train them to do at home, because it's not a 3-day abhyanga and then they are okay. These are chronic diseases. So if things could be done in such a way that you train the clients, tell them how they could do Nasya at home, how they could do abhyanga at home, that goes a long way, because that is easier for the clients to follow, that is more practical and more acceptable to them. Then, of course, the internal herbs that we use, we can use a lot of herbal and herbo-mineral formulations, and then the rasayanas that we give specific for neurological conditions, neurodegenerative conditions. Exercise is again a must. So when we talk about what form of exercise suits them best, it depends on what is the physical mobility that the patient, that the client presents with. People who are bedridden, passive exercises works. People who are mobile and can do a little bit of exercises, tailor it to their physical capacity. And of course, diet. So these in general form the crux of a multimodal treatment that is required for most of these neurological conditions. And today we will be just looking at some of the research evidences in the area of these Panchakarma therapies. I will very lightly touch upon internal medicines as well. So these are some of the therapies. This is the Shirodhara, this is the Swedana or the steaming, this is the Shirobasti, these are the Mastishkya treatments, this is the Shirodhara, sorry, this is the Pichu. So you have all these And then you have the full body massage or an abhyanga which is done. And of course, we have the Natsya and the Basti as the mainstay of neurological conditions. So I will talk from my experience, the research studies that I have been involved in, and my clinical practice over the last 20 years. Has been mostly, though I'm an internal medicine practitioner, my research interest has been in neurological diseases, and that's what I see a large chunk of my patients for. So this was one of the first studies that I was involved in, wherein in ataxia. So ataxia is a cerebellar condition which does come with, it's mostly hereditary in nature, and we have the cerebellum which is involved in this, and most of the patients do come with a lot of imbalance issues. So they tend to fall forwards or fall sidewards, and truncal ataxia, gait ataxia are the biggest features of this disease. So we did give a course of Shiro Bhasti in male patients and Shiro Dhara in female patients. This was a very, very small study. Like I said, one of the very initial studies that we did in about 10 patients of ataxia. These were all hereditary ataxias. And we gave them this treatment for about 15 days. And along with that, there were Abhyanga and Bhashpasveda. Again, like I said, wherever Shiro Basti cannot be done, Shiro Dhara cannot be done, a simple Shiro Abhyanga or a Shiro Pichu, which can be done by anyone, is also helpful. So this was a study wherein we used, this was it was in an inpatient facility, so it was easy for us to be administering these treatments. But in an outpatient facility, even a Shiro Abhyanga will help, or a head massage with specific oils. So for this specific study, we did use Dhanvantaram Thailam, and we had some oral medicines, very simple ones, because we didn't want to complicate by adding too many medicines. So we added very simple medication of Maharasnadi Kashayam, Dhanvantaram 101 capsules, and Ashwagandha tablet. So this was for 1 month, and after a month of treatment, we did assess them using a balance a balance meter. So they stand on a platform, and the platform tilts forward, it tilts backwards, it tilts left, it tilts right. So based on this, you're able to identify how good is the balance, how they're able to balance themselves on that particular platform. So what we did see was that initially their balances were really bad, and then after the treatment of 1 month, there was a significant improvement in their balance. So both the antero-posterior as well as the mediolateral. So antero-posterior is the forward-backward balance, and the mediolateral is the sideward balance. Both these improved after this treatment. So 15 days of Panchakarma treatment, and then 15 days of internal medicines. It was just a small 1 month course, but within a month we did see that they improved quite a bit. Subsequently, what we started doing in our clinical practice with the results from this study was also train them simultaneously on a little bit of yoga, a little bit of physical therapy, and later on we saw that patients were doing much better. This combination worked very well for these patients. So most of the clients who come to us here in North America are already are doing physiotherapy. So it does help that adding a little bit of this component of even Shiro Abhyanga, a little bit of Nasya, and doing an Abhyanga, a massage, does help to improve the balance in this, and that helps for a better quality of life. Now, over time, these ataxia patients do also suffer from bulbar palsy, that is the muscles in the oropharyngeal area does get weakened. So they tend to choke, they tend to aspirate and choke because of this oropharyngeal muscle weakening. So in such clients, even massage to the, when we're doing the Shiro Abhyanga, massage in the neck region, the face and neck region, as well as giving gargling, that is Kavala or Gandusha with oil. Plain Tila Taila can be used for this. Does help a lot to improve their swallowing ability. Now, Typically, in the more advanced cases, I defer from giving a Nasya, that is a full-blown course of Shodhana or Shamana Nasya, because the dosage is quite high, and like I said, since they have these bulbar palsy or paresis, they tend to swallow. They are not able to spit it out. When there are secretions coming from the nose and mouth, they are not able to spit it out, they swallow. So there is a risk of aspiration. So definitely a small Pratimarsha Nasya of 2 drops a day is fine, but anything more than that I would defer from suggesting is patients. So this is one of the initial studies that we did. Now we also followed it up with a study on stroke patients, wherein we gave stroke patients Ayurveda treatments, and we not only saw their clinical recovery, but we also saw the cardiovascular, so the heart-brain link. We also saw how they perform on that, and this was the basis on which we proposed this study. And these were patients who finished their acute phase treatments in the intensive care units, and then they were moved into the Ayurveda ward. Again, this was an inpatient facility, so it was easy for us to be giving these treatments. So they were continuing with their conventional treatment, and wherever required, where the speech faculty was affected, speech therapy was given, and physiotherapy was given for all. In group 1. Now in group 2, we gave them the conventional treatment and speech therapy as required, but only Ayurveda treatment instead of the physical therapy was given. So this was the combination we used. We again Abhyanga and Swedana, and we tailored it so that everybody could take. So Basti is the most safest, like I said, and these patients are bedridden. They are not able to even move to the toilet. So giving a Virechana becomes very difficult. So we did a Basti, a retention enema, Matra Basti of 60 ml of Balashwagandha Taila, and some internal medicine. The same duration of treatment, 15 days of treatment followed by a 15 and 30-day follow-up was what we did. And these were the results that we saw, that their neurological scales that we measured, Barthel index, the NIH stroke scale, the modified ranking score, and we also developed a Pakshagata rating scale based on the symptoms of Pakshagata that have been told in Ayurveda, and we saw that all the patients improved on these, similar to the group that improved with the physiotherapy. So Ayurveda group had the same amount of recovery that the physiotherapy group had, right? There was not much difference when it came to the clinical variables. But when it came to the cardiovascular variables, right? So most of these stroke patients in the initial phase, we have these 2 parts of the autonomic nervous system, the sympathetic and the parasympathetic systems. So they have a very high sympathetic activity and a depressed parasympathetic activity in the initial phase after stroke. So, and this becomes a trigger for more cardiovascular events or cerebrovascular events. They can have second strokes, they can have second cardiac failures. So these patients, when they were given the Ayurveda treatment, their sympathetic activity came down, and the parasympathetic activity, which is an indicator of rest and digest of your system, right? So this system improved in these patients. So the heart rate variability parameters improved a lot following the 30-day intervention that we gave in these patients. So the ones that you see, these are the different parameters of the heart rate variability, which indicate the sympathetic or the parasympathetic activity. And these are those which indicate parasympathetic activity, the total power, the VLF power, as well as the baroreflex sequence. So these were parameters that did improve in these patients following the Ayurveda interventions. Now, I have also included some studies which have been done from other labs, other scientists, and we have seen that Nyavarakili versus Pindasweda, that is using the Nyavara rice and doing Pindasweda versus doing a regular rice Pindasweda, does have a difference. Preferentially, the Nyavarakili Pindasweda gives more benefit than your regular rice Pindasweda. What are the improvements that you can see? So most of these neurological diseases, or all the neurological diseases, come with muscle tone reduced or hyper, muscle strength decreased, tendon reflexes are either absent or exaggerated, and your range of movement or their mobility and balance is completely affected. So these are the parameters based on which most of these studies have been looked at, and most of these parameters did reduce just at 7 to 14 days after therapy. So it was not even a long term. Since these are done in control conditions, we cannot do most of these research studies for long term, right? So we do them for short term. But this is to say that even a 7-day treatment can make so much of a difference, we can assume, or we can kind of infer from this how a long term treatment is definitely going to benefit these patients. This was also another study that I was very initially involved with, but later on it moved to another. I moved to another institute. So this was again in a hospital setting, wherein conventional treatment patients, one group observed at a different hospital, and another group of patients wherein as soon as they got a stroke, they came into the Ayurveda hospital. And what were the differences seen? One of the main differences was the prognosis of these patients was the same. Whether they received Ayurveda treatment or they received allopathy treatment, the prognosis was the same, this is one of the very few studies which has been done of its kind in India so far. So another study similar to that in stroke again, wherein Ayurveda massage versus physiotherapy was done, and so patients who were given Ayurveda treatments, again simple massage, did improve by being able to stand faster with minimal assistance. And typically these patients, because with stroke your hand kind of becomes stiff, your leg becomes stiff, you have a lot of spasticity, they are given a lot of antispastic drugs which come with their own complications. Like I said, antispastic drugs come with constipation, come with loss of taste, dryness of the mouth, all these different symptoms. So these symptoms, there was less need for these antispastic medicines. So you can infer that they did a lot better with the additional symptoms that comes with stroke as well. Now, Parkinson's, there have been quite a few studies wherein Virechana has been studied, that is a Shodhana procedure has been studied, as well as Basti has been studied. So again, small courses of 15-day enemas do a lot of benefit. So typically what the take home from this is, most of these patients will need a course of these Panchakarma therapies once in a quarter or 6 months or once in a year, depending on which stage of the disease they are in. So initial stages of the disease, once a year kind of a protocol will help. But patients who are in the advanced state of the disease, doing it every 6 months or every quarter has a lot of benefit. And again, this is something that they can be trained to do themselves, training them to take a small Sadhyo Virechana once in a month, or training them to do these bastis by themselves is quite possible. So these are things that are the take homes from these studies, wherein most of the symptoms do respond very well to these Panchakarma therapies, and hence adding them on with whatever conventional treatment they are taking helps to reduce the dosage of those as well as maintain them with better functionality. This is another study wherein we did patients of sciatica, low back ache, who were showing up with sciatica, and their pain levels reduced, mobility, the range of motion of the leg improved, as well as the quality of life, which we monitored using the Roland Morris Disability Questionnaire. They were doing a lot better on that. So here we used a whole system approach. So these were people who were coming into the clinics over a period of 6 months, 1 year, and periodically they were being assessed. This is some small observational study that could be conducted at your clinics, wherein over long term just have small measures that you will monitor regularly in these patients to know how they are doing better, and it's good data collection for your clinics as well. Migraine, yes, no doubt. We have a lot of therapies that help in migraine, Virechana being one of them. Most of them come with a lot of pitta involvement. So, helping them reduce the pitta takes them a long way in being able to manage their migraines better. Frequency of the attack comes down, intensity of the attack comes down, and there are cases where they can completely be rid of migraine as well, as long as they follow uh, their routine the right way. So this is again something that could be done at your clinics, wherein you check the comprehensive headache related quality of life questionnaire, or even a visual analog scale, and measure what is their headache before, what is their headache after, and we get good pointers of how our clinical practice could also be bettered. So these are some of the herbs that many of us are very, very familiar with. We have ashwagandha, we have mandukaparni, bala. Now, you can see that these are most commonly used in our treatment options, and they do show a lot of good effect on the brain. They release the right kind of neurotransmitters. They also have some protective effect as well as restoration. So restoration is something which was thought doesn't happen within the brain, but recent studies do show that there is some amount of restoration that can happen, reversal that can happen in these neurological diseases as well. So most of these medicines or most of these herbs, even the polyherbal formulations, do show a lot of effect on not just the clinical recovery that we see outside, but also within the brain. A lot of changes do happen because of these herbs and or the herbomineral and polyherbal formulations as well. So what would be the take home? Can Ayurveda manage neurological diseases? Yes. Can it cure? No. Like I said, most of them come with a whole lot of complex chronic issues, and they may not be curable. All neurological diseases may not be curable, but giving the patient a better quality of life by combining Ayurveda treatments with current treatments that the patients are already on does does go a long way in making them more independent. Is Panchakarma a must? Like I said, Panchakarma need not be the rigorous Panchakarma that we classically do, the classical Panchakarmas that we do, but small things like a Pratimarshanasya, a Basti, an Abhyanga, a Shiro Abhyanga does help a lot in all the neurological conditions. So a Lepa that we do in the case of migraine. So these are smaller allied therapies, not the main Panchakarma, but adding this on, it might seem a 1% change, but for the patient, it translates as a 10% change. Can these therapies and these medicines be given along with other system medicines? So yes, most of the research studies that we saw just now, the patients were also taking concomitant medication. They were taking other allopathic medication as well. These medicines were not withdrawn, and none of the studies so far have reported any side effect profile of Ayurveda medicines and other system medicines in neurological diseases showing up with some kind of an adverse event. We still don't have studies. Very few are there, wherein Shankapushpi, when given with phenytoin is usually given for epilepsy, and when Shankapushpi is given with phenytoin, it reduces the circulating levels of phenytoin, making the patient susceptible to seizure. So yes, some we do have references which say that it can be antagonistic to the other medications, but most of the times, especially when it comes to the Panchakarma therapies, there currently there have been no reports of them being harmful, and this is what we've seen in clinical practice as well, that Panchakarma therapies can be quite safely given with all the current treatments that they are already taking. Can we prevent neurological diseases by Ayurveda? Yeah, this is something that we really need to work a lot for, to kind of have a longitudinal study wherein we give Ayurveda treatments and see if transgenerational passage of these neurological diseases, hereditary conditions, can be avoided. So yeah, and try to please educate your clients not to self-prescribe or Google prescribe, because like I said, there are some which you would not want them to be taking together with their other medication as well. So to educate them, this has become very common, especially with a whole lot of Whole Foods markets and carrying all these in very high doses, not the doses that we usually prescribe them in. So you could be advising your clients to check with their healthcare practitioner before they take these medications together. So we do have enough information as of now for intranasal and colonic benefits of these therapies, but we are nowhere near to being able to claim that we can do a lot of things better for these conditions. So yes, we do need a lot more research in this direction. And with this, I would like to take questions if there are any, and I thank all my former colleagues, as well as the departments that I worked in, and my patients who allowed me to conduct my studies and cooperated to a large extent in helping my studies succeed. Thank you all for a patient hearing. Thank you, Carl, for giving me this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sri Ranjani, for such a wonderful, very insightful presentation. This is a very, very challenging topic, and we see, Vata Vyadhi clients all the time in our clinics. So this was very, very helpful to hear about all your experiences about it. Anybody has any questions? So I have a question actually. It's regarding the type of rice. So using the regular white rice versus using Navrakiji, the special rice, how does it really impact? I mean,
Yeah.
the gunas are like, what is different?
Yeah, so again, I was not I was not involved in the study, so I cannot directly comment on that particular thing. But yes, it is. It was a surprising reveal when I read that up, that it does make a difference on, especially when it's being given externally. I mean, internally you could still say that the rasa, guna, virya, vipaka has a differential effect internally, but external application, how that makes a difference is something which is which definitely I would also want to know more about. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It's more like Prabhav. Do we get it in US or Canada? Have you seen that?
Canada we get they call it the matta rice, so
Okay.
you get variants of that. So it comes from India, so
Right. Very
it is
nice.
available.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. And any long-term study that has been done, or
Like I
have
said,
you?
just a handful of these studies. There are some case reports that I did not discuss today. So there are case reports on some neurological diseases which have probably followed the patients. In case reports, it's easier to have a long-term follow up because the patients keep coming back to us. But within our trials, that's a big limitation, that we can only follow them up for 30 days. They do come back to us, as in many of the stroke patients. It was, we did that study over 3.5 years, right? So patients were coming back to us even after that, asking, "Can I take another course of treatment? Can I take another course of?" Yeah, so they do come back, but no, as of now, there have been no long-term studies other than those case reports, which probably did follow them for 3 to 6 months.
Right. And yeah, one more question, does these therapies or the Panchakarma treatments really help them to cut back on their modern medicine dose?
Yeah, tremendously. Like what I have seen is a simple thing like a Parkinson's disease, right?
Mm-hmm.
A simple laxative that is given, avipatti or a lavana bhaskara, makes so much of difference. A small deepana pachana and
Mm-hmm.
mrudu virechana kind of a thing impacts so much on their the amount of medicines that they need to be taking. And yeah, we know very well that the gut brain axis kicks in a lot in all these diseases. So keeping the gut clean
Mm-hmm.
generally has an effect on how the brain releases its different neurotransmitters and so on. So yes, almost all the cases that we see, helping with a small cleanse, make sure that we are able to keep them on lower doses of the medication that they want and that they're taking, and also if they don't progress faster into the disease.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Uh, I can see a chat question. If intracranial pressure increases, what is the line of treatment? Yeah, so intracranial pressure, we can give Nitya Virechana. They do respond very well with Nitya Virechana. Um, Wherein you could give, again, check the patient's mobility, see how mobile they are, and you could have something as simple as kshira with Erinda Taila, that is
Mm-hmm.
castor oil, with kshira being given, which does help to reduce the intracranial pressure. But it again depends on the conditions. The condition I'm speaking about that is most commonly what we do is in the case of stroke. But if the intracranial pressure increase is very high, the patient is not conscious, then yes, it's very difficult for us to be managing it. Some lepas are also done when we talk about the Ushna lepas that we
Mm-hmm.
give in such conditions in acute stroke wherein you cannot manipulate by doing abhyanga, and also for Deepana Pachana you do give lepa. So Shirolepa, which is done with Ushnavirya Dravyas, does help.
Okay. Okay. Excellent. Thank you. All right. So thank you everyone for joining the webinar. So, make sure to watch and subscribe. We have this YouTube channel for CAR. So you'll be able to see all the previous videos also. And, like, share, comment on our YouTube channel. There is one more question here. Ushna Lepa will work in hemorrhagic condition. Can you unmute yourself? Dr. Shri Ranjani, can you unmute yourself?
Sorry. Yeah, so yes, we do give Ushnalepa in ischemic cases as well as hemorrhagic. But typically, what we see is hemorrhagic conditions progress very, very fast. So it doesn't leave us a lot of time to work with in the initial phase. And once the hemorrhage has been arrested, then when we follow up by doing the Ushnalepa, that helps to reduce the edema within the brain.
Mm-hmm. All right. Yep. Thank you. All right. So we do have one journal club meeting tonight at 6 o'clock CST. So please go to our Facebook page, and you can you can actually enroll for that, register for that. We would love to see you at the journal club meeting. And yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Bye.
bye.